The priesthood is an order, as I understand it, that is introduced by the Almighty and by Him alone. It is not of man, nor did it proceed from man. And as it did not proceed from man, neither can it progress nor be perfected by man without the direction of the Almighty.
The priesthood is your ability to act as a vessel for the power of God on earth.
The priesthood, to me, is service.
Well, I remember one instance. It was right before I received the Melchizedek priesthood. It was in the interview I had with my stake president, and he wanted to make sure that I knew what the priesthood was before I received it. And he gave me some very, very valuable insight. He told me that the priesthood is... It can be a blessing for the holder, but it's a blessing for others. Because, I can't put my hands on my head and give myself a blessing. I have to use it to bless the lives of others.
Elder Robert D. Hale said, the priesthood is the power of God which is given to man to act in His name. The priesthood of God is timeless. It was in the beginning and shall be in the end of the world also. To me, that's a pretty good description of what the priesthood is. The priesthood is the power of God, and He gives it to us so we can set an example, give blessings, and in general help other people.
Have received any office or a calling or authority or any power to administer in any of the ordinances, we have received that from the hand of God, and we can only perform these ordinances according to the priesthood we are permitted to possess.
Knowing that these blessings were administered to me and giving me the power to overcome some of the problems in the cancer that I have fought for the last 5 years. It's been very good. It's been very beneficial to me.
One time I had a migraine headache, and it was getting worse and worse, and I had had it for several hours. And at one point I went to the church to pick up my family after church, and I couldn't barely move anymore because the headache was so bad. My wife asked somebody to give me a priesthood blessing, and at that time they did, and within about 15 minutes my headache had disappeared.
When I was about 8 or 9 years old, for all my childhood I'd had these terrible nightmares that had just plagued me, and it had been really, really terrifying to go to sleep until one night I just asked my father if he would give me a blessing, and it was the first blessing that he ever gave me, and the nightmares just stopped.
We do not, any of us, have the priesthood for self-aggrandization, or to be used to oppress or take advantage of anybody, or to use improper language, but with all kindness and long-suffering and forbearance, and with love unfeigned.
The priesthood definitely does not make us proud or haughty. It's a very solemn responsibility, and if anything, sometimes we feel inadequate.
Now that I hold the priesthood, I have been humbled significantly. I try to set a better example to other people.
Well, it says in the scriptures that people who have the priesthood have the keys to the ministerings of angels. And there are angels all around us, but we just can't see them. And it's a very humbling thought to know that when you have the priesthood, that angels can minister to you.
Do you think that God will give power to any man only to carry out his own contracted or selfish purposes? I tell you, He never will. Never. No, never.
There have been times when I feel like I am right in what should be done, and I have basically set the rules in my home and have been admonished by my wife that that was inappropriate. And because of the priesthood and understanding the responsibility, I have been able to humble myself at those times and realize that being a leader in home with this priesthood, it is done through patience, long-suffering, work, and guiding others rather than controlling.
I know that nothing helps straighten me out quicker than when I'm actually called to exercise the priesthood in the form of a blessing or even in service from somebody that I home teach or my own family.
You do the best that you can, and there's some things that take fasting and prayer before you're ready to do. There's other things that you need to get your mind focused just through prayer, meditation. But the point of the priesthood is to be able to be ready to give service when needed.
Let each of us be pure and say to others, "Follow me as I follow Jesus." It is for us to live our religion and obey the laws of God and perform the duties that devolve upon us.
I know that as a priest, being an example to some of the younger kids, I've always tried to be very respectful and very honorable towards the priesthood.
For fast offerings, we're usually the first people to know if something is going on in the families of the people we visit, because we can see them, and then we write down notes to the bishop and the high priest, and then they read those and try and help out the families in whatever way they can.
My father is one of those guys who leads by example.
Gordon B. Hinckley said that we magnify our calling and enlarge the potential of our priesthood when we go and serve those who are in distress and give strength to those who falter.
Faith the size of a seed